Bythjul.com. Däck och fälgar online direkt hem till din dörr eller närmaste verkstad.
So we're breaking off our normal driving reviews with a static one. And this is a car that I haven't approached yet. It has been released a couple of months ago. It's the new ID.7 from Volkswagen. And the one that we're standing beside here is the GTX version. And it's also in the shape of a station wagon. This will be a popular one from Volkswagen, and it's the most sporty one as well. It sits on the top of the food chain with its 340 horsepower. It's got two engines, this one at the front, one at the back. It's more rear wheel biased because it's got 286 horsepower on that rear axle. The front one, well, it provides 109 horsepower.
The GTX brand for Volkswagen has been a bit of a success story, and that has been shown in the sales statistics. Every fifth ID4 or ID5 that has been delivered has been a GTX one. Independently, the GTX brand has set its own mark, and it has grown out of the other sporty models like the GTI, the GTD or the GTE. The high effective battery is now at 86 kilowatt hours net. And on fast charging stations, it can take all the way up to 200 kilowatts, which means that the battery can be charged from 10% to 80% in less than 30 minutes, under the best conditions. The exact figures for the range is not official, but it's roughly estimated at about 680 kilometers.
And just soaking up the look of it, it feels like in the corner of your eye, like this is the new Passat, but the new Passat has been released as well. They're keeping up with the fossil engines, of course. Car manufacturers make a lot more money on these, where the incomes on the electrical ones, well, that's a different matter. And it's also a different matter nowadays when people tend to see that it is expensive, rather difficult to get your hands on. The delivery is rather long. But yeah, this is the one that is going to be popular, I guess. I've always said that the ID3 and the ID4 and that ID5, well, it feels a bit kind. So this one, it feels a bit more sharp in its looks. I just like the proportions of it, and it is not that big crossover SUV tendency. And I just love that. I like sedans and I like, station wagons as well. I don't really like crossovers and SUVs. So this is really welcomed in my book. This glacier white, you can also get it in the King's Red. That King's Red, that is a salute or a homage to the first Volkswagen GTI that was released. I like colors, so maybe the red one, that would suit a bit more. But people want to keep it down tone. They will choose black, they will choose gray, and they might choose white. But that red color, well, it synchronizes well with the new GTX brand. And this GTX brand, it will now be available on the ID3, of course, the ID4 and the ID5 already there, and the ID Buzz. That's rather cool. 340 horsepower combined. Well, that makes it the strongest Volkswagen throughout its history. Even stronger than the Golf R, 320 horsepower. So, of course, you're in for a ride, but these are heavier cars. So they aren't as quick as a R, of course. That's more performance-like. So this black polished lines, well, it looks good, of course. It gives it a sporty tone and it breaks off its, dimensions and shapes, especially in profile. You also get 20-inch alloys on this sportier version. So if we take a closer look at the front, it really got presence here. This new illuminated brand and this LED stripe all the way from one light to the other looks just, good and sporty. And also this honeycomb grille down here. These side lights here are pointed inwards as arrows, and that looks just neat. You got the IQ lights, it's matrix lights, so they are very highly advanced as well. Good lights. The overall length of the car, well, it's rather long, 496 centimeters, but although the bonnet is not that very long, so it's, a bit cramped here, but that makes it express its very long cabin inside. The rear and the front. But on these models, you don't get a front. You know, to me, that doesn't really matter. You got good boot space, but I think some electric car fans, well, they might think that, why don't we get that provided? Because it's always good to toss in your charging cables or something of that kind. So it has a lot of presence. I think it expresses a lot of strength, this one. These black polished 20-inch wheels, they just look good to this car, especially this glacier white. From the front to the back, I think it looks very, very good. These handles here, well, they are not popping out in any way. You have that little electrical feel, and there are some cars that have this electrical feel that you can get a bit mad about. But I think that this one, it has a really good feel to it. It reacts, and you don't need to push it that very hard. And also, it's a good clonk when you shut the door. So a little about the power and the performance. 340 horsepower in this one, well, makes it rather quick, I guess. The regular one with 286 horsepower, it does 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 6.6 seconds. You know, that's fairly fast. Electric cars, they should be fairly fast, otherwise there's no thrill about them. But this one, well, we haven't got any specifications of that exact 0 to 100 kilometers an hour figure, but I guess it's a little under 6 seconds for sure. And the top speed is also restricted to 180 kilometers an hour because you don't want to drain that battery too fast when you're out on the motorway. So 180 kilometers an hour, well, that's plenty enough. You never often go that fast. The fast and the most demanding thing, well, that is when taking corners, and that's what we like. And it's rather wide as well, 186 centimeters wide. I always refer that back to when my father had a BMW 7 Series, and I remember reading about it. It was 186 centimeters wide. You know, that was wide back in the days. But now, you know, a standard car or a standard car, whatever you want to call it, electrical car of our era is 186 centimeters. You know, that is big. The light back here looks very cool. It's like 3D dimensional in some way. And when you want to indicate, well, that light drips out. So that makes for, you know, a good, cool effect. It's also illuminated here, and that badge is red back here. But I think that looks really cool. And it's not that cluttery back here. GTX just bang in the middle, very clearly displayed. And still, you get this plastic polished honeycomb look back here as well. Well, that's just what it is. Let's check the trunk. The first glance, well, it feels very, very roomy. You also got a towing hook back here, automated, but it doesn't want to come out. So you need to kick that one up. Yep. You know, some electric motors in some other cars, they get it all the way up and then you push it and then it goes all the way down automatically. But this is not too much of a hassle. Just pull it up. But that's the thing. Well, you need to get under here. Well, now you need to push it up again. A very good height when you need to put in stuff. And it's rather flat here. See how it looks under here? Well, you can reorganize a little, and you got your charging cables down there. So fairly good amount of space back here. You can also fold the rear seats if you want to tuck some more stuff back in here. As it stands, it has 605 liters, which is rather good. But if you fold the seats and if you want to push in a lot of stuff back there, well, then you can put up all the way to 1,714 liters. All right, we jump in here, and what catches your eye in here, well, are some red undertones. That expresses some more sportiness. Red cover to my phone, well, appropriate. First of all, you get into the seat, and that feels very comfortable. But at the same time, it has some support. You can feel that it is a sportier seat, but it feels like it really, at the first sense of it, feels like it's foamy all around, but still has a very firm grip around your body, like these. And they're wide enough. So I think it's just a perfect size for that. You can move about a bit, because when a sporty seat is too cramped, well, going on long journeys, that's not that fun. Let's close this door. So what you can see here inside, well, red lines here, and this one is illuminated red all around. So that is the GTX symbol color, more or less. I like this handle up here because it flows into this side of the door. Looks very, very neat because it doesn't really look like it's a handle. So that one, nice touch. And also, look at that. It's electrical, so you don't need to push it that hard. That is convenient, and that is very luxurious. Never felt anything like that. If you just don't compare with something that has a button that opens, like in a Rolls-Royce or something like that. So, very good. The seats, well, I think you can get them in electrical adjustable way, but this one, well, it's fully manual. But let's see, you can get down rather low in this car, which you want when you have a car that has a bit more sporty ambience and tone over it. These ones, big storage. Here's for your induction charger, I think. 2 cup holders, rubberized, a little plastic, but with a new type of touch and look. Ventilation outlets here. Well, you can't really adjust them. You do that through the screen here. So you can get in and then you can just direct them in different ways. Maybe a bit over-engineered, that one, because I think that, you know, when someone steps into a new car of this era and they don't feel that there's a little knob that you can switch them to change direction, and they need to dig into the system, that is a bit, you know, of a mess, I think. But, you know, it's a bit futuristic. And people who like electric cars and that are very fond of these type of cars, they find that very appealing, I think. This big screen, 15-inch, it is really, really big. The only thing is that when you sit that low, well, it covers a little part of my vision out, but doesn't matter. People doesn't sit that low always. The steering wheel, you can set it in depth and in height, and you can get a rather good position when driving. And back to the screen. Well, you got all your widgets and apps and everything in here. You also got ChatGPT, so that's rather interesting. Try that out later when that will be included in this one. But you know, you're at home and you can feel that the processor is quick. It responds immediately, and that is good because when sitting driving and when needing to change something, it needs to react and needs to be quick. But still, they keep on adding these sliders here for ventilation and for heat. Works a lot quicker now than before in the ones that I've tested, so maybe it's okay. Change the sound there as well, but it shouldn't be that much integrated. It should be, you know, some physical buttons for that. And there's the music. But when you get a car, you get to know it and you learn how it works. The haptic buttons here, well, they feel like about the same. You push it and there is a slight delay and then you get the feedback of a little click. So I don't really like these. But once again, you learn and then you get into the mood and then you're just there. But a very nice open air cabin. This roof here, we got some crystals, so when the electricity is active, the crystals, they bound together, and when you want to turn it off, well, it disintegrates and then it becomes open, so it lets in a lot of light. And also in the winter, it keeps the heat better in here, and also in the summer, so the UV rays and all that heat doesn't get into the cabin, so it becomes a much more comfortable cabin feel in here. Very high center console here when you sit that low, and I just like that. So it's a very cozy place. Let's check out the back seat. Back seat, well, look here. As I sit in my position, well, I got limousine type of space here. This was good. It feels like they've worked some with this one because it tilts up a bit, and you need that in an electric car because it can feel that you're sitting rather high with your knees, but you get some comfort here, and at the same time, when there's some length to stretch out your legs, oh, it feels very good back here. And the seats, they also have this very foamy, nice, but sporty feel to them. Back here as well, well, sporty tone as it runs along with that red light. Looks really good. You're not overwhelmed with luxuries back here. You got your electric windows. What do you got here? Well, you got 2 cup holders, a ski bag, an ISOFIX for the kids' seat, USB-C charging point, and a little digital cluster here that shows you the temperature. Back here, really good. I think you can relax here for a couple of hours or on a very long trip, actually. Feels good. good height for me, 175 centimeters. I'm sitting very, very good here, and I think that 180 plus centimeter persons, they sit just perfect here as well.
A very interesting car, a big car that has a lot of tech and also a very comfy interior. Seats are great, practicality is good, and for that average family, it's just a perfect long-distance cruiser. Keeping up with the decent charging capability of up to 200 kilowatts makes up for effective long trips. It will be very interesting when we get to drive this car. There is also an option, which is the DCC, which manages the chassis setting for this car. So let's see how sporty it is when we get to drive it.